everyone. I welcome you today. Sorry we're running a little late. We had some tech issues, but I am so excited to introduce to you Minal Mistry from the United Kingdom, who has a fantastic story about her healing. And I want to share with everyone before we get into it. I know a lot of people think that people who come on and share their stories are like perfectly 100% healed, and that's not the case. We wish we all were 100% healed. We're all just doing better than we were before. And one of the reasons I want to share this with you is because it's a powerful story. It's a story of great courage. It's a story of inspiration and motivation. And I want those who are listening to take it as such, as a story of healing and inspiration and motivation and power. And because it really is a really cool story. And I couldn't wait to share this interview with all of you, because it's honestly one of the joys of my life to witness, young people especially, who go through so much healing and take this on, because it's one thing to take on healing protocols when you're in your 50s or 40s, but it's a totally different thing when you really take it full on as a young person. And so, Minal, welcome.
Oh, I just want to thank you so much, Muneeza, for giving me this opportunity. And first of all, I just want to thank you, Anthony, from the bottom of my heart, because if it wasn't for you two, I would not be in this position right now. So where shall I begin?
Well, really, I mean, tell us what happened. How did you were 21 years old in your last year at college, and what happened?
Okay, so I was 21 years old at the time, so it started back in 2010, and I just completed my university placement year abroad in Germany, and then I started getting some symptoms. I can only put it down to stress. Whilst I was in Germany, I was working a full-time job as part of my university placement year, and I started getting bladder pains. And I went to the doctors and the test came out normal. They couldn't really give me anything. And then I went back to the UK, started in my final year back at university, and the symptoms progressed worse, and it went on to pelvic inflammation. So it got to the point where I was debilitated. I dramatically lost a lot of weight. And I had lectures, exams, and coursework to do. So I went to the doctors, and they just couldn't give me anything. All they could give me was antidepressants and painkillers to numb the pain. But I knew that wasn't the right treatment for me. So I started to travel every week 2 hours back to my hometown for homeopathy and Reiki treatment, as that was the only hope that I had, because no other doctors were giving me hope.
Right.
And the pain just got really, really bad, and I was on the verge of giving up my university final year around Christmas time.
Yeah.
But then something told me to just carry on with the final year, see if you can get through it. So my homeopathy and Reiki practitioner, they were amazing, and they got me to the point where where I could walk, where I could start to walk.
So basically you couldn't walk, right? With the bladder pain, you were in so much pain.
Yes, it would just debilitate me, and I just had to rest, or I would literally just drag myself out of bed and just go to lectures, but I was just in constant pain, and I just had to miss out on a load of lectures as well. And then what happened? And then after that, I got to the point where I could walk slightly. I could walk, but then a whole array of other symptoms appeared. So all of a sudden, my nervous system completely inflamed, and I had chronic pain, nerve pain on my scalp. And the only way I could describe it was as if acid was being poured onto my head,
right,
or like a hot poker was being put in the fire on the highest degree and pressed on my scalp. That is not even a joke, and I know I sound crazy describing it like that, but that is how this.
You don't sound crazy to the people who are listening. The people who are listening, they understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. And then, so I still had my final exams. So I went through my final exams. Even with that pain, I did go for a job interview, and I managed to secure a job for after graduating. Because I was just under the impression that the symptoms would go, but it just didn't go. And then, so after I graduated, I went to starting my job within 2 weeks of doing my exams, and the pain was just constant still. Luckily, I had a really understanding manager, and he understood, and he allowed me to go to doctor's appointments and allowed me to finish early on Fridays to travel home for my homeopathy and Reiki treatment.
Right.
But then during that time, I remember whilst I was on my lunch break at work, I went to the doctors to try and figure out what was happening on my scalp. And the doctor just looked at me, and she just said to me, "You're going to have to deal with this for the rest of your life. There's just some things that we can't explain." And I said to her, "Is there anything that you can do?" And she says, "No." And that point just left me really devastated. And I remember walking back to work thinking, right, I'm going to doesn't matter how long it takes, I will get down to the bottom of this. So I carried on work for 2.5 years, and then I made the decision to quit work in 2013 in the hope to recover. During that time, I'd seen hundreds of doctors. I tried other therapies as well as homeopathy and Reiki. So I did allergy treatment, acupuncture, reflexology. I did magnet therapy, saw a neurologist, saw a urologist, did craniosacral therapy, reflexology, went into meditation, law of attraction coaching, all of those treatments. And those treatments, they weren't getting to the root cause of my pain. With those treatments, it allowed me to emotionally accept what was happening to me. So I've got to the point where whenever I would speak about my illness, it wouldn't reduce me to tears, but still I wasn't able to last a whole day at an event. I missed lots of weddings, family functions, friends' weddings, socializing events. And when I did come home, I was just homebound, and I was just focusing on myself and just trying to get better. And then, but still, I just wouldn't give up hope, just researching different methods, different treatments. And then in 2015, I came across Anthony William, medical medium, through a post on Facebook. And that was the time when my practitioners were telling me, you need to improve your immune system. And I was thinking, how can I improve it? And I was looking online and looking at ways, how to improve it through diet, etc. But for some reason, those foods that I was finding online, they just weren't helping me. And so I came across Anthony's post, and something was telling me to sign up for an appointment. And then eventually I did, and I'm really grateful for my dad, because even though we had tried so many treatments before, he was still working with me to try and help find what the root cause was. And so we signed up for an appointment, and I was just so fortunate enough to get an appointment in September of 2015. And if it wasn't for that life-changing appointment, I wouldn't be here now. And when I did have my appointment, Anthony was brilliant. He was just so kind, compassionate, and straight away told me the root cause of what was happening with my severe nerve inflammation, severe pelvic inflammation, hair thinning, multiple chemical sensitivities, facial pain, and I got diagnosed with Epstein-Barr and Streptococcus bacteria. And that then, I'll be honest, I didn't believe it at first, because so many practitioners before got to a point where they would turn me away. But but I just thought, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to try the protocol. I'm going to do it. So I started with the protocol, and things started to change. It was slow but gradual, and there was a lot of stop and start. It was difficult. And then 6 months later, so during that time, I noticed little things like energy would increase. I'd be able to socialize a little bit more. I'd be able to hold a proper conversation on the phone without getting exhausted. But still, the main symptoms were there, but just little things would improve. And then 6 months later, I signed up for an appointment with Muneeza, because I thought extra support was needed. And that was absolutely fantastic. With Muneeza, we agreed to start with we started with raw till 4, and we did that for about a year and a half.
So you couldn't go fully raw, right?
Yes, so even Anthony advised that I couldn't go fully raw at the beginning because my body was just too sensitive. So I started off vegan, cut out certain foods, started off vegan, increased lots of more fruits and vegetables. And then 6 months later, we decided to start with raw till 4. And then I did that for a year. And then after that, my body could tolerate fully raw, and we transitioned to fully raw. The biggest change for me personally was when I changed to fully raw. And that was when I was waking up without any pain. I didn't even have to think about my pain. It was because my pain was 24/7 constant before. But even though I went fully raw, I did get flare-ups. So I also had to deal with that. So I'd have a good phase, and then I'd have a flare-up.
So tell people how normal that is to have a flare.
It is so normal. And whenever I had a flare-up, I thought I was going backwards, but in fact, it's okay. You just have to ride out that storm. And during that time, I had a couple of tools that I used to help me. So I would write the good, because I had another coach as well who would help me with the emotional side, because that's so important as well. So I would write good things about my illness. So it's like an acceptance. It would allow me to accept it and just face it. So it's not as if even though I was writing good things about it, it wasn't as if I was attracting more of it. It was just helping me come to terms with it and look for the good. So I wasn't constantly thinking about my illness all the time.
Right.
So that helped me emotionally. I'd put on, my favorite movies. I'd just stay at home and just look at, just have that rest time for myself, and just say to myself, it's going to pass, it'll pass.
Right.
It did pass, and I came out better on the other end. Even now, I still get flare-ups. But it's just very, very common. But the supplements that helped me, so the supplements that I was on was, so I did the B12, the zinc.
Hang on before you do that. Someone's asking a question. She says, Saraswati Kumara's asking, could you describe the symptoms in your flare-up?
The symptoms in my flare-up, so for my head pain, it would just feel like acid was all over my head here. I would get facial pain, I would get eyebrow pain, facial pain. It would just feel like also a hot poker was in the fire and just pressed on my head, constant 24.
So really, it was your old symptoms when you originally got sick, right?
How it started.
Yeah, how it started. It would flare up like that, a little bit.
Yeah, it would flare up like that. So when so originally it started with my bladder pain. Then it went on to severe pelvic inflammation, and that felt like something was eating my bladder and stabbing glass panes all over my pelvic area. And then it progressed to, whilst those symptoms decreased, after that, my whole nervous system inflamed to the top of my head. So I didn't get any pain anywhere else in my body, like hands or anything. It was just on my scalp where the nerve pain was, and that was really severe. Right. It was just like acid. It was like my head was on fire.
Right. Which is interesting because many people would confuse that for shingles.
Yes, but it's quite interesting because it wasn't shingles, it was Epstein-Barr virus,
right.
wasn't it?
It was Epstein-Barr, which is so fascinating. So tell us then, so you started the Raw Until 4, you started to go more raw, and then what happened?
So during that time I was still unemployed. So when I got onto fully raw, because my energy increased, the pain started to decrease. I wasn't getting as many flare-ups. I decided to volunteer part-time as an admin assistant.
Yeah.
So at the Action for Blind People in the hometown where I live are very kind enough to allow me to come in every Fridays. And I just did about 4 hours every week, and that helped me, build up confidence, get back into socialising, get back to office environment, because I was previously in banking before my other career. And I just enjoyed going in there. And then I still carried on with the protocol. That was fundamental. As my immune system was getting stronger with that protocol, I still carried on with the Reiki and homeopathy treatments. But what I noticed was the homeopathy started to get more effective once I started with the protocol.
Yeah.
And before, the homeopathy it wasn't doing anything to me. And my practitioner was like, I'm really sorry, like I don't know what else to do. I said, just give me time, let's just see if this works and we'll build upon it.
Yeah.
So I started to see more changes in homeopathy, but the foundation really was that protocol that started to strengthen my immune system. And then with that, I started to build up enough confidence to start applying for jobs. And last September, so after being unemployed for 5 years, I managed to secure a part-time job within the county council in my hometown. So just 2 days a week, and it's just perfect. The colleagues are perfect, the job's not stressful, it's just brilliant. I really enjoy going to work. And I've not had a day off sick. I've actually gone to work and the pain's not been on my mind.
That's amazing.
At all. I've been able to function properly. And then because and then also I set my, and that also became permanent last month.
Wow.
So my hours increased to 3 days, and I still haven't had a day off sick. The other days, while I'm at home, I concentrate on myself, do my protocol, do things that I enjoy, because I just want a bit of a balance.
Yeah.
But I'm working towards full time.
Wow.
But then also I set myself another goal because of my severe pelvic inflammation. I was homebound, as well as the head pain that also made me homebound, my scalp nerve pain. Because it was just difficult to socialise and do things and concentrate.
I explain to people all the time what's wrong with you and why you're struggling and why you can't eat this and why you can't eat that, and all those things come up. It's just easier not to socialise, isn't it?
Exactly, but I have to be honest. My family were amazing. It was very difficult at first for them to understand what I was going through. My fiance as well at that time when I was going through that difficult time. Every credit to him for just being there, understanding.
Right.
Because we had to delay our Indian engagement because of my health issues.
Right.
So, and because of the protocol, it is because of that, the foundation, I was able to do my Indian engagement in 2016, and it's purely because of the protocol.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, but my other goal, what I did notice when I was homebound, when I used to be out in nature, that used to help me a lot more. So we've got an area called the Lake District near our town, and it's just mountains. It's not as extravagant as the ones where you know, in America, but it's for UK, it's just right. And I used to go there, and it just used to, you know, I used to feel happy when I was there. And then walks used to help me, like gentle walks. And then because I felt really good in the mountains, and because I was homebound all that time of pelvic inflammation, I just wanted to set myself a goal, and that goal was to do the Everest base camp trek.
Yeah. So before you head into that space, you also had signed up for a cleanse. Tell people, even though you'd had an appointment with Anthony and you'd done private work with me, you still signed up for the cleanse. So tell us why you did that.
So before I signed up for the cleanse, I'd already done the 28-day cleanse, medical medium protocol. But the cleanse was so useful, and I'm so glad I signed up to it, because it allowed me to understand more the difference between, you know, detox reactions and a flare up.
Yep.
And also it provided me with like a community, a safe space to express, you know, how I was feeling, or if there were any issues that I wanted to clarify, I could freely post that up on the group. And I was so surprised at how many questions were coming through. And even though so many questions were coming through, you all had time to answer them. And we, just by people asking questions, we learned so much more about the body. And it just allowed me to build that confidence up more about going through the protocol, because I know sometimes you feel alone whilst doing the protocol, but just having that extra support really, really helped. And all those recipes as well, and I found those recipes so useful, especially when transitioning out of the 28-day
cleanse, right? It teaches you how to do that.
Yeah, exactly, because it's guidelines how to slowly transition out, which foods to add in, how much quantities to add in, so you do it safely.
Yeah. Because
sometimes if you just go into it straight away, it can have an adverse effect. But this was a nice, slow, steady transition.
Yeah, and you also were able to understand the ability to go raw for longer, right? Fully raw for longer on the program. You had a lot of like food breakthroughs there. I think that a lot of people can understand how the supplements work and how the basic diet can work, but then taking it to another level sometimes is tricky, and you feel scared to do it on your own, right?
Yes, exactly. And the point that you mentioned about doing the 28-day cleanse for longer, I didn't think at first that you could do it for longer, but I've actually been on the 28-day cleanse since last year, and that's been my protocol. I've been on it for more than 10 months.
But what did that enable you to do?
And with that, I will be honest, it was since transitioning to fully raw. I know people are different, but I think for me personally, fully raw, because I know you can still heal with just cutting out the no foods, incorporating more fruits, doing celery juice. But for me, because of my symptoms, I had to go fully raw to really make these breakthroughs, to secure the part-time job, and to then be able to do my trek. And the more raw I incorporated, I noticed the less time it took for my body to actually recover from flare-ups. And I will also admit, when I have tried, just dabbled into some of the no foods, I don't get a reaction anymore. And that is because I went fully raw. It just helped build up my immune system. It helped build up my immune system. I'm not getting those reactions. Also, my chemical sensitivities, they've gone down as well. So I remember if I was around someone with perfume or aftershave, it would really trigger my head pain. There was one time when I was in the supermarket and I just walked past someone with aftershave, and my whole right side of my arm just felt numb and I couldn't really move it. but I'm able to tolerate that now. And
yeah, so you know,
able
to tell people
as
why
well.
you're able to tolerate all that more now. Well, you did fully raw. What did that do for your insides?
Although I got a lot of detox reactions which I had to go through, physically, I noticed more energy. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I was just getting out of bed, whereas before I would wake up and I would probably lie there for about 3 hours until getting out, dragging myself out of bed. And I think, like you said, you know, just help cleanse the liver. For my insides, it helped cleanse the liver and just helped get rid of all, you know, the pathogens, viruses, just helped to lower that down to a suitable level.
Yeah, but also you healed your liver so much, right?
Yes, that
because
was
you've
the main
been
thing.
fat-free or really low fat for so long. And that's the part that I want you to share with people, that it's actually, people think it's not safe to do. People think it's not, that you need more fat, but actually you've had that lowering that fat has enabled your body to release more toxin more quickly and so do so much with that, right? You lower flare-ups, lower reactions. When the liver is cleaner, right, then you don't have as many reactions.
Yes, it was really about, for me, strengthening that liver. Every time I remember you saying, still got that sluggish liver, you've still got it, you still need to carry on. So I just had to carry on, even the days where I didn't feel like it, I just had to carry on and just find that motivation. There were some quotes that kept me, you know, motivated, times where like I felt like giving up. One quote really stuck with me, and it was, the impossible is possible if you just believe. So that I just kept on thinking about when I just felt like I just couldn't carry on. Just thought anything is possible. I just need to get through it, stay strong and get through it. Because I just don't want to be sick for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I think it just shocked me of how I became so sick whilst being so young. And throughout that time, just in my 20s, I'll be honest, I've missed out, you know, just socializing. Because I used to socialize so much before, just going out with friends, socializing, you know, just attending friends' weddings and all that while you're in your 20s. I'm now 28.
Right.
And I just want to thank you and Anthony so much for giving me my life back. I know I'm not 100%, but the fact that I've got this far was a real breakthrough for me, because I had no hope and I thought it was going to be like this based on what the doctor said and based through how many of the therapies and treatments I tried before. I just thought it was going to be like this for the rest of my life and just manage the symptoms, but I really wanted to get down to the bottom of it.
And you did. Look at that. And so then came Everest Base Camp. And so you told me I want to go back in last year, right? You're like, Muneeza, I want to go.
Back in last year.
And you asked me, you know, should I keep it? Should I cancel it? What should I do?
Yeah. So what I noted was when I used to go to Lake District for walks, and I did do a Switzerland trip for a weekend to visit my friend. I felt really good when I was in the mountains. I just felt so good, and I just thought I need to go to the Himalayas. I just thought I need to set a challenge for myself. I just wanted to do it for myself. It was just my own goal that I wanted to do. Just after everything what happened, I wanted to do this for myself. And my dad and my fiance decided to come and do that with me to accomplish that goal with me. And it was such a brilliant experience. The organisation that I went with, I told them about my situation. They were very understanding and they allowed me to take the extra food that I needed. So as discussed with yourself, Muneeza, we agreed that I stay vegan and I took gluten-free porridge, so I packed them all in bags and I took them with me. Lots of dried fruits, so I did dried apricots, figs, mangoes, dates, what else? Just those are the main ones that I had, and I just snacked on them constantly throughout the mornings and throughout the afternoons.
And you took some powders with you, right?
Yes, I took honey, raw honey with me, and luckily over there as well I managed to buy some in Namche Bazaar, the Sherpa village there, right. So I managed to stock up on some. And then for lunchtime and the evenings, they provided me with lots of potatoes, lots of vegetables. Alternate days I had rice and lentils, and I also took quinoa.
And you hadn't eaten rice and lentils in like a year. Or more, maybe more than a year, right?
Exactly. Yes, I because of the streptococcus, I had to avoid rice. Quinoa was good for me, but rice, I definitely had to stay off it.
Right. And you were able to tolerate. So you were able to tolerate the rice with no problem. There was no flare in the bladder. There was no strep flare that happened.
I'm being honest with you, Muneeza. For the 19-day trip, I had 2 flare-ups, but none were bladder related.
Right, there was no bladder flare.
There was no bladder flare. Bladder was completely healthy, no issues. It was only my scalp pain, but that is also because when I did have my appointment with Anthony as well, he did mention that because my scalp pain was so chronic, it would be the last thing to go.
Right.
And however, that scalp pain now I can say is 80% better. So today I can happily say I've not had a flare up today. It's just been a normal day. But it has taken me from 2015 to get to this point now. Just had to keep the faith. But whilst I was there, in the Himalayas doing the base camp, no pelvic flare up. I had probably 2 flare-ups on my scalp. One flare-up was because of, I think, the MSG that was in the stir-fry sauce.
Yes,
that they gave.
Yes, we were able to identify that one really clearly.
Yes, and the other flare-up, I just think maybe it was just everything just catching up on me after when I came back. But I was so shocked. I did not get any altitude. I did get a mild altitude symptoms, but not enough to stop me from doing the trek. And the only symptom I got a bit of, tiredness, but it wasn't overwhelming. It was just like a normal amount of tiredness. Then when I got up to actual base camp, so 5,364 meters, that night, whilst I slept at Gorak Shep, at the highest altitude, whilst I put my head down on my sleeping bag, it just felt like I had pressure a little bit of pressure and a headache. That lasted 4 hours, and then the next day, as I walked back down, that stabilised. But throughout the whole trip, I did not have to take any painkillers. No altitude tablets,
nothing. Because you had spent so long on a raw and almost fat-free diet, like really low fat, and that allowed the liver to clean up so much that you didn't even have any altitude symptoms, which is so rare for someone who's, other people have them. You probably noticed a lot of other people having those symptoms, but you can see the power of a really clean inside and good strong liver when you can handle all these other situations. You just can handle them so much better because you're not as toxic.
It's so true. And the doctor, every day he'd ask everyone, how are you feeling? And every time he came up to me, I was like, I'm fine. I'm honestly, I'm fine. I've got stabilized energy, obviously a little bit tired, but it wasn't to the point where I had to stop or quit. And the doctor did not have to check me once. And there were other members on the trip who did suffer from altitude-related symptoms, and 3 members of our group had to, unfortunately, head back, just go back down to climate times at a lower level due to the altitude just taking over. But they did amazing, and they got to 4,620 meters. That's an incredible height.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. But I did keep on thinking, it's because of the diet that it's got me this far, and it's because of that I was allowed my dream to happen. And honestly, I can't thank you and Anthony enough from the bottom of my heart. You've given me hope when I thought there was no hope, especially being so young and also being told by the doctors. I remember when I was around 21, the doctor, she also shouted at me because I was there like three times a week, going every week, and she shouted at me and she goes to me, "You're 21 years old. You've got the rest of your life to live. You're fit, and it's all in your head. You need to just." She goes, "There's nothing wrong with you," and I was just completely gobsmacked. And after then, I know it's not the doctor's fault, but I just avoided going to the doctors and just found a different way to get around the situation.
Yeah, well, you know, who wants to go back to a situation where you're made to feel like that small, you know? It's not very compassionate. Malin asks, are you going to continue to be solely raw, or will you begin incorporating cooked food and in the evenings, for example?
So my plan would be, so I still have some healing to do. I'm hoping to carry on with my protocol, my fully raw protocol for the next 3 to 4 months, and then slowly transition to cooked food. So I would probably do raw till 4 and then incorporate a cooked food. And then, but I have decided that eventually I will stick with the celery juice and the morning routine, and then probably do cooked food.
What's in your morning routine?
So my morning routine, so I wake up, I do my meditation because I have my emotional coaching as well. So I think that's a big part of healing. So I get up, do my meditation, and then I write my gratitude list. So I do that as well. And then I have my celery juice. After that, I have my lemon water, and then I have my 2 smoothies. So my first one, because in the UK we don't have access to wild blueberries, like frozen ones, I ordered the powder from Canada. So I put 4 teaspoons of that in my smoothie, the heavy metal detox smoothie. And then the next one I have is the papaya one with the strawberries and coriander and banana.
So coriander, and for those who are American, is cilantro. In the UK, cilantro. We say coriander. That's okay. I'm just translating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then I have my spinach soup in the afternoon, and then my, the celery and pears, and then the salad in the evening.
So why do you do the papaya every day? Sorry, why do you do the papaya every day?
So the papaya, it's to help with my, it was advised by yourself that I needed papaya. It was very important because of the amount of strep that I had in my stomach area. And also I had a mild shingles, which you were able to pick up as well, which appeared a couple of months ago. So you mentioned to increase the papaya to help fight that load as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And it helps the nervous system to heal as well, the whole nervous system of the body, right? So great additions. You've stuck to it so amazingly and diligently. And I know it's not been easy for you, Yeah. But you are one brave girl. You should know that.
I couldn't have done it without you, Muneeza and Anthony. Honestly, you both are world changers, and there was just a time where I just thought, I'm not going to get through this. I don't know how. I don't know how. I don't know what route to take, because I thought I'd just exhausted all areas of therapies, practitioners, and it was a complete blessing in my life. And honestly, I just want to try and help people as well who maybe experience similar symptoms. If I can give just hope to just a little bit of hope, that would just never ever give up. Like, you just need to stick through it and just never ever give up.
Yeah. So Linda is asking, my bladder has been so painful, ureter and bowel for 2 years, following protocol for 2 years. It was doing much better. I started Golden Seal again, but after being on Golden Seal this time, for about 8 days, the burning became so painful and bowel got irritated and I had to stop. Now, I understand, Linda, what you're going through, honey, but you also had a really major loss in your life. And so that will also trigger a lot of other symptoms. So a lot of people saying I'm sounding really British, which I am. I sound more British when I speak to British people. This is my natural accent, in case you guys don't know. I used to sound even more English than I do right now. But I grew up in very British schools, so I always had British friends and British teachers. So this is how I spoke from kindergarten and upwards. So
it sounds brilliant.
Well, I think so too. I do. Minal, it's such a joy always speaking to you, and thank you so much for sharing your story, because I know you were nervous coming up here, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to share, what are you going to ask me, and all those questions, but you just shared your story from your heart, and I think that everyone listening can hear that and feel that from you. And thank you for the genuine authenticity in your story, and in just how you've taken everything on, and being really super honest with us and telling us that you had a little flair here and there. And I think that it really is inspiring. It is inspiring, and also it's inspiring for people to hear really what changes one can make to make a huge impact and difference. And I think a lot of people sometimes don't understand how powerful it can be to change the diet for a long period of time. And so people do the 28-day cleanse and they're like, oh, I did it for 28 days and I got better. But, they may not have the full impact of that until they do it for a lot longer, like you did.
Yeah, for me, just doing the 28-day cleanse for 28 days, I noticed significant differences. But for me to completely, as in my body to get more stronger and more powerful, I had to carry on. Just to reduce the flare-ups, just because it was so chronic. And the beauty about this protocol, because every time I went to practitioners, they were just saying, oh, you need to improve your immune system. That was all they were giving me. And they were telling me to take vitamin C, and then they were telling me to incorporate certain foods. They didn't really go on much about fruit. They were going on more about protein and vegetables. They didn't really tell me about fruit, because when I went on to a different type of allergy treatment, which was tested through kinesiology. I was coming up as sensitive to fruits. But in fact, it's when I read upon one of the medical medium's posts, it's those fruits that actually fighting the viruses, and it looks like you're getting a reaction to it, but in fact they're actually healing your body. So that's why I wasn't really taking on any of the fruit. And the answer that I was looking for was through medical medium, and that protocol is an immune strengthening protocol. And for me, that was the significant foundation. And if, like I said before, if I hadn't done the protocol, I would just be managing and just getting through the day and not living my life. And I still probably wouldn't be at the point to be able to secure a part-time job 2 days a week. And it's because of that protocol I'm able to work now 3 days a week. And if I wanted to, I could up it to 4 days actually, because I still haven't had a flare up.
Right.
Well, I've had a flare up, but not that significant to knock me back, take a day off sick at work. Yeah, whereas, so that protocol, so much emphasis on that protocol for me. It enabled my homeopathy treatment to work so much more effectively. It was brilliant.
Brilliant. You did great. I mean, you know, and you're still healing, like you've acknowledged. You're a lot better than you were. I mean, this has been, for you, 7 years, right?
It's been 7 years of 7 years of my life, and it was only since 2015, so 5 years after suffering for 5 years with those symptoms, that I was able to have a proper diagnosis, start, you know, seeing improvements, being able to last the whole day outside. You know, before I was just meeting people for an hour, and that was just enough. And then it gradually increased, and I was able to do a 19-day trip, stay abroad for 19 days.
That was the first trip you did as well. You hadn't really, then you went to Italy one time, right, in the middle, and you came back, and you still had reactions after that trip. So you really weren't sure whether you could go away to Everest, right? But you really nailed it down. It was amazing to watch you I mean, you took the diet to heart. You're like, I'm doing this. I'm not gonna veer off it or cheat on the diet. I'm gonna do this properly, and you did. And you know, if I saw you in person, I would give you such a massive hug. Because
likewise, Muneeza, the same. I would give you a massive hug, because you have been absolutely incredible. You and Anthony, you are like my angels. You have, honestly, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, that I feel like I'm getting my life back, because it just wasn't, I couldn't say that a couple of years ago. For me, it just sounds amazing, like I can actually say thank you for allowing me to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I can see I know I'm not fully healed, I've got a long way to go, but I can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel now.
Yeah.
And for that, I am truly indebted and so grateful. And I can't thank you enough. I really cannot.
It's my honor and my joy to witness someone like yourself to really heal and come through. And I remember on so many of your appointments, your dad was there and listening and asking questions, and he was so concerned. And then it was so sweet. And so people are asking, you know, did the protocol assist you neurologically? Yes, absolutely, Amy, because all of her symptoms were neurological. The burning scalp, the feeling like there's heat in the scalp, and the pain, that's all neurological. So yes, supplements helped immensely neurologically. Mary DeLeo asked what supplements you did take. I prefer that people don't actually share exactly what their protocol is, because it's so unique to them. And honestly, I'll tell people, doesn't it change all the time?
It changes. So at the beginning, initially, I had a certain set of supplements, and then other ones had to be added on. And then surprisingly, another one got added on, for example, the iodine for thyroid. And I'd never taken that before. That wasn't part of my protocol at the beginning, but for some reason I had to incorporate it at that certain stage. And then it got taken away. So yes, it changes, it fluctuates.
It changes constantly based on, you know, a point when we connect and we talk and we say, okay, well, do this now, change this now, and, you know, increase this, reduce this, stop that. So it's really hard to say what supplements you were on, you know. So I really recommend that people learn how to listen intuitively, understand what the supplements do. That's what we teach in the mastery program, actually, is like deepening into the protocols and understanding how they work and teaching that. But I'm so grateful for you to come on here. Thank you so much for your time, Minal, and give a big hug to your parents. I know that they've been such a huge support for you. And I'm so glad you're now engaged, looking forward to being married, and, you know, your life is upward and onwards from here. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I know you've inspired a lot of people, because you can go back and listen to this and listen to the comments. And I'm just sending you a big hug, love. All right, honey.
I'm sending you a massive hug, and my parents pass on their love. And honestly, you are incredible. You and Anthony, what you are doing, you are just incredible, because without you, I wouldn't be in this position, honestly. And for that, I am truly, truly grateful.
Honey,
From the
we
bottom of
feel
my
your love, and it was an honor for me to work with you. It really is. And it's an honor for me to work with each of my clients, and it's a real honor that you trust this, and that means more to me than anything. So the gift, you know, watching you heal, that's the biggest gift I could ever get.
That's another thing. When you say trust in it, it took a long time for me to trust, and you just have to trust and go with it. Even when you have the flare-ups, even with my bladder when I had a flare-up and my head pain, you just have to trust, and it's the right thing, because that protocol will strengthen your immune system. For me, it definitely did, and I was in a very chronic place.
Yeah. You did great. You did wonderfully. Thank you so much. And go back and watch this. Okay, love.
Oh, thank you so much, Muneeza. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye.